Am I the jerk for calling the cops right away when my sister and her family broke into my new house using a stolen spare key? Hey Reddit. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and honestly, it feels like I've spent my whole life living in the shadow of my older sister, Rachel, who's 31 now. She's always been the golden child, smart, outgoing, and somehow always able to sweet-talk her way out of anything. Meanwhile, I've been tagged as the irresponsible one. In my family, that pretty much means I'm the one doing all the grunt work while getting zero recognition for it. Growing up, Rachel always got the best of everything. Her birthday parties? Huge backyard blowouts, bounce houses, pony rides, the whole deal. Me? I got a quiet pizza party at home with a grocery store cake. One Christmas, Rachel got the real Barbie dream house. I got a beat-up knockoff with a broken elevator. My parents would just say stuff like, "You don't need all that fancy junk," or "Be thankful for what you've got." Funny thing is, they never asked Rachel to be grateful like they did me. Things really started to split when I went to college. I worked my butt off in high school, AP classes, clubs, the whole 9 yards to keep my GPA up. I got into a local university and figured I had a solid plan: live at home to save money on dorms. Rachel had gone to her dream school and our parents had footed the entire bill. Naturally, I assumed they'd help me out too. Nope. When I told them I planned to live at home, my mom looked at me like I just suggested moving to Mars. "If you're gonna stay here, you'll have to contribute," she said, like it was no big deal. Rachel got everything paid for because she earned it. You need to learn responsibility. I was just 18, trying to get ready for college, and suddenly they were asking me to pay rent. Contribute turned out to mean $500 a month for rent and utilities, plus covering my own groceries. That might not sound like much unless you're a broke college kid pulling minimum wage at a bookstore. I made $11 an hour. I tried to explain that Rachel never had to worry about money while she was in school. My mom just shrugged and said, "We gave Rachel what she needed. You're different. You're independent. You'll figure it out." So I did. I worked every hour I could get at the bookstore. Some days I skipped meals just to make things work. Every morning I'd walk past the campus coffee shop, jealous of the students grabbing lattes and muffins, while I stuck to my peanut butter sandwiches and free coffee from the break room. I never bought new textbooks. Everything I used came secondhand or straight from the library. Still, every month I handed over that $500 to my parents. Meanwhile, Rachel was off at her out-of-state school, living in a brand new dorm that mom and dad paid for. She called me once just to complain that her dorm's air conditioning wasn't cold enough. I nearly lost it. My car didn't even have working AC because I couldn't afford to fix it. But my parents? They kept sending Rachel money like clockwork. I once overheard mom on the phone saying we don't want her to struggle. College is hard enough. I just stood in the kitchen with my $1 ramen, wondering why nobody ever gave a damn if I was struggling. What really hurt wasn't just the money. It was the message that I didn't matter as much. Rachel was always the one they believed in. I was just around. Even when I did something worth celebrating, they barely noticed. When Rachel graduated with a 3.4 in communications, my parents threw her a huge party with a DJ and catered food. When I graduated with a 4.1 in computer science, we had dinner at home. Mom made lasagna and said, "Let's not make a big fuss." Looking back, I think the hardest part wasn't the lack of support. It was knowing they never really saw me. They always said, "Erin's smart. She doesn't need help." But being capable felt more like a punishment than a compliment. After college, I moved out fast. I found a small apartment near my first job and started living life on my own terms. It wasn't easy, but at least I didn't have to deal with their rules. I lived cheap and worked hard. Little by little, I saved up. Meanwhile, Rachel married Tyler, he's 33, and my parents just adore him, even though he can't seem to hold down a steady job. Now they've got 3 kids, Emma, who's 6, Caleb, who's 5, and baby Owen, who's 3. And my parents? They're constantly bailing them out. Their car broke down last year and mom and dad just gave them money for a new one. Rachel says raising 3 kids is tough and boom, free babysitting on weekends. I wish I didn't care anymore, but it still gets to me. No matter what I accomplish, Rachel's always ahead in their eyes. That's why I've stopped sharing details about my life with them. Not that they'd care anyway. Lately though, I made a decision I kept to myself. I started house hunting. I'd been in that tiny apartment for years, paying way too much for a glorified closet. I'd saved for what felt like forever, and finally I thought, you know what? I've earned this. And I didn't tell my family. Not because I was hiding anything, but because nothing in my family ever stays just about me. The minute I mention anything, it turns into Rachel's story. Suddenly, it's about what Rachel and her kids need and how my success could somehow help them. So I stayed quiet, planning to tell them after it was all done. But apparently that was too optimistic. I still don't know exactly how it happened, but a woman I work with, let's call her Tracy, let something slip. Tracy's one of those nosy types who always wants to know what everyone's up to. I think she casually told someone I was looking for a house, and that someone just happened to live next door to Rachel. And in small-town Texas? News spreads fast. A few days later, my mom calls. "Erin," she says, way too chipper, "why didn't you tell us you were house hunting?" I should have known better, but I decided to play dumb. "Oh, I'm just looking around, nothing serious right now," I told her. "Well," Mom said, "Rachel and I have been chatting, and we've come up with some great ideas for you." I could already feel the dread building in my chest. "You're gonna want something big enough for everyone. At least 4 bedrooms for the kids, of course." "What kids?" I asked, confused. "I don't have any." She kept talking like I hadn't said a word. "You'll need space for Rachel's family when they come over. And for us too. Oh, and wouldn't it be nice if it was close to Rachel's place?" I don't know why I was surprised. She'd already decided that my house was going to be the answer to their problems. I muttered something vague and hung up the phone as quickly as I could, hoping that would be the end of it. But nope. Not even close. After that call, Mom and Rachel started bombarding me with house listings. I'm not kidding, it became their part-time obsession. Every day I'd get at least a dozen links to these outrageous properties, massive houses with 4 or 5 bedrooms, pools, 3-car garages, the whole package. You'd think I was shopping for a celebrity mansion. One day Mom texted me, "Did you see the one on Maple Street? It's huge, just perfect." Then Rachel emailed me a listing for a 7-bedroom place with a note that said, "This would be ideal for us." Finally, some room to breathe. Us? I stared at that message for a solid minute, trying to figure out when my house hunt had turned into a group project. The worst part? They weren't even pretending it had anything to do with me anymore. Every house they picked was clearly for Rachel's benefit. "This one's got a finished basement. Tyler could use it as a man cave." "Oh, the kids would love the pool at this place." "Hey Erin, this one's even got a guest suite for when Mom and Dad visit." It was exhausting. At first, I tried steering them gently in another direction. I told them I was just looking for something simple, just for me. But that only made them double down. Eventually, I gave up. I muted the group chat and started ignoring their messages, hoping they'd get the hint and drop it. Meanwhile, I kept looking on my own. I spent my evenings scrolling Zillow and my weekends checking out open houses. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, and I avoided any listings even remotely close to Rachel's neighborhood. The last thing I needed was someone running to tell my mom. After weeks of searching, I finally found it, a cozy little 2-bedroom cottage just outside the city. It had everything I'd been hoping for. A cute front porch, a sunny kitchen, and a backyard big enough for a garden. It wasn't flashy, but it felt like home. The second I walked through the door, I just knew it was the one. I put in an offer, and after a few anxious days, it was accepted. Honestly, I can't describe how amazing that moment was. For once, I was doing something entirely for myself, without anyone else weighing in. And no, I didn't tell my family. I let them keep sending their suggestions while I quietly moved forward with the purchase. Then out of nowhere, my mom called. "We're having dinner next weekend," she said. "You're coming, right?" I almost turned her down. But then I thought, you know what? Let's just get this over with. So I went to the dinner fully bracing myself for whatever circus was about to unfold. I was already picturing PowerPoint slides and a detailed tour of their dream house for me. And now here's the good part. I was finally ready to tell them the truth. I'd already bought my own place. No sugarcoating. Just facts. I could already hear the drama in my head, gasping, accusations, the whole 9 yards. Thanks for hanging in there. Here's how it all went down. Update 1. First off, big thanks to everyone who commented on my last post and gave advice. I promised to update you all after the dinner, and oh man, buckle up. Last Saturday, I showed up at my parents' place right at 7 p.m., mentally armored for whatever chaos was waiting. Sure enough, as soon as I walked in, the place was a mess. The kids were yelling, Tyler was parked on the couch glued to the TV, and Mom was clanging around in the kitchen. She glanced at me and said, "Oh good, you're actually on time for once." A great start, obviously. We sat down for dinner and the small talk started. Dad griped about gas prices, Tyler mumbled something about work, and Rachel went off about how tough it was handling 3 kids. Owen keeps waking up in the middle of the night. she said while spooning mashed potatoes onto her plate. We're so cramped. I feel like I'm losing it. I saw where this was headed, but I played along. I just nodded and kept my eyes on my lasagna. Then Mom cleared her throat in that dramatic way she does when she's about to drop some big news. Erin, she said, smiling way too wide. We've been talking and we think we've found the perfect house for you. I nearly spit out my water. Of course they had a plan. Oh yeah, I said, trying to keep my voice as even as possible. Yes. Rachel jumped in. It's beautiful, just a few blocks from us. 5 bedrooms, a big yard for the kids, and even a guest suite. Before I could react, Mom cut in. It's absolutely perfect. The kids can finally have their own rooms. Tyler could set up his office and it's close to great schools. I just stared at them. They weren't even pretending this had anything to do with me anymore. So Rachel said, grinning like it was all settled, we can go see it tomorrow if you're free. That's when I hit my limit. Actually, I said, putting down my fork, I already bought a house. The room went dead silent. Even the kids stopped moving. What? Mom snapped. I already bought a house, I repeated. It's a small 2-bedroom cottage just outside the city. It's exactly what I wanted. For half a second, I hoped they'd be happy for me. But nope. Mom's face went red. Rachel looked like I'd just kicked her puppy. A cottage, she said, like it was some kind of insult. How are we supposed to fit in a cottage? You're not, I said flatly. It's my house. I bought it for me. Before Rachel could say anything else, Mom jumped in. Erin, how could you make such a huge decision without even talking to us? We've been working so hard to find the perfect place for you. No, I said, doing my best to stay calm. You've been working hard to find the perfect house for Rachel and her family, not for me. I didn't need your help. I knew exactly what I was looking for and I went out and got it. Rachel's voice suddenly shot up a pitch, almost like she was about to cry. But Erin, we need this. Do you have any idea how cramped we are in that tiny apartment? The kids all share a room and Owen's crib is stuck in our bedroom. It's not fair to them. I took a deep breath and tried not to lose it. That's not my problem, Rachel, I said, steadying myself. I've busted my butt to get to this point. I'm not giving up the house I worked for just to fix your situation. That's when Dad jumped in. He slammed his hand on the table. You're being selfish, Erin. Family's supposed to support each other. What's wrong with you? I stood up, heart pounding. I'm not selfish. I'm finally doing something for myself. If that makes me the bad guy in your eyes, fine. I'll be the bad guy. That's when the whole room exploded. Rachel started crying. Mom launched into one of her lectures about how she didn't raise me to act this way. Dad went on and on about how disappointed he was. And Tyler? He just sat there, shoveling food into his mouth like none of it concerned him. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Mom followed me, tears running down her face. You can't just walk out on your family like this. I turned back and yelled, watch me. Then I got in my car and drove home, shaking with a mix of rage and relief. Things had spiraled way further than I expected. Now my mom and Rachel are going full throttle on social media. Rachel posted pictures of her kids all crammed together on a bunk bed, captioned with stuff like, all they want is space to grow, but I guess some people don't think family's worth helping anymore. Of course, people who don't know the whole story started chiming in. Stuff like, how could anyone be so heartless? To make matters worse, someone, probably Tracy from work, saw the posts. Now half my office is whispering about how I abandoned my family. I'm trying to stay focused and keep my head up, but it's getting harder by the day. Still, deep down, I know I did the right thing. This house is mine and I'm not backing down. If anything else happens, I'll post another update. And seriously, thank you. The support I've gotten means more than I can say. Update 2. I've been reading through your comments and wow, you all really told it like it is. A lot of you were shocked at how entitled my family sounds. Trust me, I feel the same way. Some of you even shared your own experiences with toxic family dynamics and honestly, it's been a huge comfort knowing I'm not alone in this. Now, something unexpected happened. Yesterday, my mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. She was standing there on my porch holding an apple pie. Not even my favorite, I like cherry, but she had on the most forced smile I've ever seen. Hi, Erin, she said, acting all casual. Just thought I'd stop by and see how you're doing. Like she hadn't just spent the past couple weeks leading a social media smear campaign. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She set the pie down on the counter and looked around the place like she was taking mental notes. I wanted to apologize, she began, sugarcoating every word. Things got a little out of hand and I realize now that we shouldn't have pushed you like that. You've worked hard for this house. I should have respected that. But something about her tone made my skin crawl. Then she launched into this long-winded monologue about how proud she was of me and how the stress of Rachel's situation made everyone act out. But that's no excuse, she added, giving me this fake, sorrowful look. I was thinking maybe we could have a fresh start, she said, smiling sweetly. I'd love to visit again sometime, maybe bring Rachel and the kids. They'd love to see your new place. And there it was, the real reason she came. After she left, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That night, it hit me. She'd spent way too much time looking at my door locks and asking about when exactly I'd be fully moved in. Then today I came home from work and realized my spare key was missing, the one I'd accidentally left on the kitchen counter during her visit. Right then my phone buzzed. It was a text from my neighbor. Hey, I saw some people looking through your windows last night. Looked like a couple with kids. Everything okay? I freaked. Immediately called a locksmith and scheduled a full rekeying. I'm also getting security cameras installed tomorrow morning. I can't believe they'd stoop this low, but then again I sort of can. At this point I've stopped answering any calls or texts from my family. That so-called apology from Mom? Just a scouting mission. I'm done giving them the benefit of the doubt. And honestly, I don't think they're done yet. My dad left me a voicemail saying, "This isn't over, Aaron. Family sticks together whether you like it or not." That didn't sound like concern. It sounded like a threat. I've started documenting everything, texts, voicemails, weird encounters, just in case. My gut's telling me I might need to protect myself legally soon. I'll keep you posted if anything else comes up. Reddit, thank you again. Your support has been my anchor through all of this. You've reminded me that I'm not crazy for setting boundaries, just human. Update 3. Hey again, Reddit. I honestly didn't think I'd be posting another update, but here we are. What happened today left me absolutely shaken and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. This morning I went out to run some errands, just boring stuff like picking up groceries and stopping at the post office. When I got back around noon, something felt off. Rachel's SUV was parked right out front of my house. My stomach dropped. I hurried up to the door, fumbling with my keys, and I could hear voices inside. It was Rachel. And Tyler. And the kids. They were inside my house. The place was a disaster. Emma and Caleb were sprawled across my couch, surrounded by snacks and toys. Owen was waddling around the living room with one of my throw pillows in his mouth. Tyler was raiding my fridge like it was his own. And Rachel? She was in the sunroom, moving my furniture around like she was filming a home makeover show. What the hell is going on? I managed to say, my voice shaking with a mix of rage and shock. Rachel looked up, totally unfazed. Oh hey, Aaron, Rachel said like it was no big deal. We figured it'd just be easier to move in while you were out. I stared at her, trying to wrap my head around what I just heard. Move in? I asked. Yeah, she said casually, nodding toward the kitchen counter. Mom gave us the spare key. We really needed the space and your house is perfect for us. It could have been bigger if you'd taken our advice, but we'll make it work. Tyler can finally have his office now, no more fighting about it. I didn't say a word. I just took out my phone and called 911. Rachel's face twisted in disbelief. Seriously? She asked. You're calling the cops on your own family? Watch me, I said. When the police arrived, Rachel and Tyler tried to play it off like it was just a family misunderstanding. They insisted it wasn't a real break-in because, well, we're related. The officers didn't buy it. They told them flat out they were trespassing and needed to leave immediately. Rachel started crying, saying she didn't realize it was such a big deal. Tyler muttered something under his breath about me being selfish as they gathered up their stuff, along with half the snacks from my pantry. After they were gone, one of the cops came over and asked if I wanted to press charges. I thought about it. Honestly, I wanted to. But I told him no, as long as they stayed off my property from here on out. He nodded and said they'd file a report anyway in case something else happened. I called the locksmith again and scheduled another rekeying. Tomorrow I'm having a full security system installed. And this time, I'm taking legal steps too. I've hired a lawyer to draft a formal cease and desist letter addressed to my parents, Rachel and Tyler. The letter outlines everything they've done so far and makes it crystal clear. If they keep harassing me, I will take legal action. I still can't believe any of this. That my own sister thought this was acceptable and that my mother actually gave her the key. I don't even have the words. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens, but honestly, I think this is the final straw. I'm done giving them chances. Blood might be thicker than water, but when that blood turns toxic, it's time to cut it off. Update 4. Before I wrap this up, I just want to thank everyone who's followed this whole crazy ride. After reading your messages and thinking it all through, I realized I owe you one last update. And yes, I mean final. Because I've officially cut all ties with my family. It started with a wave of guilt-tripping phone calls. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had my number. My aunt, the one who barely acknowledged me as a kid, left a voicemail saying, "How could you do this to your sister? Family has to stick together." Then came the public shaming. My parents launched a full-on smear campaign around town. Somehow Mom got photos of my house and posted them on Facebook with captions like, "It's heartbreaking when someone forgets where they came from. We sacrificed so much for her and this is how she repays us." Naturally, people who didn't know the full story chimed in. The usual, I was ungrateful, selfish, cold. But then last week, Rachel took things to a whole new level. She showed up at my workplace during lunch with all 3 kids in tow. I was in a meeting when our receptionist buzzed me. "Your sister is here," she whispered. "She's crying in the lobby and making a scene." By the time I got there, half my coworkers had already gathered, watching Rachel put on a full dramatic performance. She sobbed about how I'd left her and the kids homeless. I pulled her aside and told her firmly to leave. Instead, she let the kids run wild around the office, screaming about how I had more than enough space but was too selfish to share. Security ended up escorting them out, and I had to sit through a pretty awkward conversation with my manager about keeping personal drama out of the office. Then came the last straw yesterday. My parents decided to hold an intervention at their house. They actually told my grandmother I was having some kind of mental breakdown and needed the family to step in. When I refused to show up, they went even further and tried to send a local pastor to my house to lecture me about family values. That's when I talked to my lawyer and took real legal action. I filed for a restraining order against Rachel and Tyler, citing their repeated harassment and the break-in. At the same time, my attorney sent out cease and desist letters to my parents, ordering them to stop posting about me on social media and to leave me alone. I've since installed a full security system, cameras, motion sensors, the works. I also changed my phone number and email, and I've only shared them with people I trust and my employer. All of my social media is now locked down tight. Not just blocking my family, but anyone even remotely connected to them who might feed them info. The weirdest part of it all? They still think they're right. My mom sent one last email before I blocked her completely. She wrote that I was breaking her heart and said she raised me better than this. She still doesn't get it. This was never about being cruel or selfish, it's about setting basic boundaries and finally learning to respect myself. But you know what? For the first time in my life, I feel free. My house is exactly how I want it. I've started planting a garden in the backyard, something I dreamed of for years but never had the space or peace to do. I'm getting to know my neighbors, the ones who aren't feeding information back to my family. I even adopted a cat. Right now, she's curled up in a sunny windowsill, totally at peace. And like me, she doesn't have to share her space with anyone she doesn't want to. Last weekend, I had a small housewarming get-together with a few coworkers. We sat on my porch sipping wine, sharing cheese and stories. No one said I needed more room. No one questioned my choices. It was just normal, simple, quiet, happy. I know some people might think I'm cold for cutting off my family, but after 28 years of being treated like a backup plan, a bank account, and the fixer of everyone else's messes, I've finally chosen myself. Learning that family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, boundaries, and mutual support. Might be the healthiest thing I've ever done. And the house that started all of this? It's become my sanctuary. Every morning I wake up surrounded by things I chose, living by my own rules. No one's expectations. No guilt. Just peace. To everyone on Reddit who followed my story, thank you. Your support, your advice, and your shared experiences got me through the darkest parts of this mess. To those of you who've been in similar shoes, you helped me realize I wasn't alone in needing to draw the line. And to anyone out there going through something like this right now, stay strong. You deserve to live your life on your terms. I probably won't post any more updates, partly because I've cut off all contact with my family, and partly because I'm finally ready to move on. But I'll still be around on Reddit, maybe helping others through similar struggles. Thanks again for everything. You have no idea how much it meant. Thanks for sticking around and listening to my story.